Hello, everybody, and welcome to Silent Podcast, the place where everything but silent. And we're going to just jump into this extra interview with Jacey-Lynne. So, Jacey, the first question we have for you is: if you won HOH last week, who would you have nominated, and who would have been your target?
Oh my gosh, great question. I really think that I would have nominated Helena, and that's not just me being bitter. I would have taken away her ability to say that she's never hit the block. I really think the girl needs to hit the block. It's time. So I would have put her up for sure. And then, I think I would have put Josh up next to her, just because Josh, in my eyes, has a great chance of winning this game. He can't, like, we can't get him to go home. This guy needs to go. So it's just, I think I would have targeted Josh, but put Helena up to at least take away her ability to say that she's never hit the block.
All right, Jacey-Lynne, my question for you, what was your strategy coming into the house, and how did it differ on how you actually played the game throughout this season?
Yeah, so my strategy coming into that was actually pretty well aligned with how I played. The only thing is, so coming in, I wanted to play a really strong social game. I wanted to make solid relationships with a lot of people in the house. I wanted to win a lot of comps. And then I thought that I probably would be in a showmance. I was like, oh, I'm down if it happens, whatever. But it was more so going to be like a surface level, shallow type of thing, cut him when I need to. So I guess that's the one thing that changed with my strategy, is the fact that I met this guy who I actually ended up liking, and our showmance wasn't really like detrimental to our games. If anything, we benefited each other because we balanced each other out so well. We were great teammates, great partners together in that house. So I think that's the only thing that really changed, is the fact that I don't think I would have cut Gino. He was great for my game.
Okay, awesome. And Jacey-Lynne, I have a two-part question for you. So what do you think was your best game move, and what do you think was your worst game move?
Ooh, oh man, that's really hard. Okay, well, I never really had power in the house, as we know. The only thing I really have is the secret POV. I think, as much as people might think that I should regret not using the secret POV, I do truly think that was my only move, was not to use it. I think if Marty would have been backdoored that week, Gino and I would have been up on the block the next week. It's just so obvious to me the showmance would have been next. So I think not using the secret POV was one of my best game moves. One of my worst would be, I think, trusting Kyle as HOH in week 3. I think the power tripping, it just blinded him. His HOH was a chaotic disaster, and I think I should have just been more observant and understood that the entire house hates the guy right now, and no one wants Josh to leave. And I should have just been on board and understood that from the very first moment. And that's one of my biggest regrets, I think, is just not reading the room on week 3.
Cool.
All right. Now that you're in jury, what are some things you'll consider when voting for the winner?
Great question. I'm looking for like a well-rounded player. So somebody who played a solid social game, somebody who was able to make really strong connections and relationships within the house, and was able to manage those relationships. That's a big one. It's not all about freaking just making these relationships and then just letting them slide. Like some people, like Helena, you need to manage these relationships, girl, because now I'm in jury and now I have the vote to decide who wins the game. I also think comp wins are going to come into play here as well. If you have a couple of comp wins, that's sweet. But the main thing is, I think if somebody on finale night can pull out the fact that they had a hand in a lot of things that we never knew about, they had more influence than the house knew about, that will definitely be, I think that could lure me in. Honestly, I love that.
All right, JC, and our last question for you is: who do you think is playing the best game so far, and why?
Out of the house guests that are still remaining?
Yes.
I think that Kevin is playing the best game out of all of them. I really do. I think he just downplays everything. He downplays his entire game, downplays who he is as a person. And I think that we're going to find out that he had a lot more influence in this game, a lot stronger relationships than we even knew about in this game. And I think there's a great chance that he wins if he makes it to final 2. And I don't even know if he knows that. Like, people really look up to Kevin. I think he's like a mastermind. I really do. Just showing that he had this final 2 with Helena and then roped Josh in. I think that was all Kevin's doing. And I think we're going to find out a lot more about his game afterwards.
All right. Well, that's the end of our time. Thank you so much for speaking with us.
Amazing. Thank you so much for having me.